Hello. In this session, we will see how to upload files to the Blob storage in a clean way. In our project, we have a story entity with only text property. And now we want that user should also able to upload multiple images in a story. It is not very good practice to convert an image into binary and store it to database. We generally do not upload images to the database. Traditionally, we used to upload images to some folder on a web server. But in modern application, we use cloud services like Azure Blob Storage or Amazon S3 for this purpose. Generally, uploading files or images is a two-step process. Sorry for this bad slide, but it looks something like this. In a first step, we upload it to some storage service, in this case Blob Storage, and get its path or URL. And in second step, we save that path or URL of the images to the database with respective entity, record or document. In this case, it is a story document. So here we have array of string that will hold these URLs of images, and this entire document will get saved to the CosmosDB. So as we have seen, as a first step, we have to develop one post endpoint which takes list of images as an input and uploads it to blob storages and gives back us the array of URLs. And then these URLs we will be using in our create stories endpoint to create story document. On this slide, I also tried to keep folder structure what we are going to use in our real application. So this is our Orion storage account, which is our blob storage account. Inside that, we will be creating public uploads container. And inside this container, we will have separate folder for every user. Inside that, we can create the folder for module. For example, the images that we are going to upload are for stories. So we will have stories folder and all images will go inside this folder. As a side note, I would also like to mention that the source code for every chapter is available on GitHub and the link is always provided in the description. So you can download the code and examine it. Now the very first step to create storage account on Azure. So go to Azure portal. If you don't have Azure account, then you can also use emulator. Click on create resource and create storage account. Select your subscription, resource group, name it. This name should be unique throughout the Azure. As I already created this account, it will not allow to use this name to anyone else. Most of the things keep default. Just review and then create. Once account is created, it will be available on your home screen. You can click on that to go inside it. Select Storage Explorer. Here you can see Blob Containers menu. Right click on it and click on Create Blob Container. Name it Public Uploads and do not forget to change public access level. We will set it to Blob Anonymous Read Access for blobs only. In this particular use case, we are creating this container to upload public images which will be accessible without any authentication authorization. That's why I am selecting this option. In future, we may have some use case. That time we can explore this option. But for now, let us go with anonymous read access for blobs only and then click on create. Once container is created, your screen should look like this. Now to connect to this storage account via our application, we will need connection string. So go to access keys, click on show keys and copy this connection string. Once that connection string is copied, jump to your solution, go to Orion API project app settings.json file and create one setting section blob storage settings with connection string property in it and paste that connection string here. Now let us go to our application layer. Here we need to create use case folder structure for upload image use case. Uploading images or any other files is a common functionality which we will need in multiple modules. For example, upload images we need in story module to upload story images, and also in account module to upload profile images. So let us keep this functionality at common place instead of specific module. So for such type of common functionalities, let us create common app layer folder. So in our application project, let us create new folder and name it common app layer. Inside that, let us create use cases folder. So all common use cases will go here. Now create file storage use cases folder underneath this. And inside that, we will need upload images folder. Obviously, our upload images folder will contain upload images command handler, which should take list of files and upload it to blob storage and return back the array of URLs. So to pass this data to and from, we will need two DTOs, file DTO and URLs DTO. File DTO to pass data to this handler and URLs DTO to get back the URLs of posted files. So let us create DTOs folder inside common app layer and create these two DTOs. So go to common app layer and add new folder DTOs, and inside that create two classes named file DTO and URLs DTO. File DTO class should look like this. It has content property of stream type. Let us resolve this by importing proper namespace. Then it has name property, which will contain name of that file, and then content type, which will contain type of file like JPG or PNG. The next URLs DTO. URLs DTO will look like this. It has single property URLs, which is a list of strings, and we will be setting these URLs to this property using the constructor. Now, to communicate with blob storage, we will need a package named azure.storage.blobs. But as we are following clean architecture, we do not want to pollute our application layer with such external dependencies. So instead of implementing the functionality here in the application layer, we will simply declaring the interface with method upload, and that interface we will be using in our command handler, and then we will implement that interface in some other class library project in infrastructure layer. So in our common app layer, let us create folder interfaces. You can notice that in our story app layer, we named this folder as a gateway. So before pushing this code to the GitHub, I will be renaming this gateway folder to interfaces, as I'm not sure if this is correct name. This will obviously need to rename namespaces. So I'll do that change and push the code. Now in this interfaces folder, let us add interface I file storage service, and this interface will look like this. It will have upload async method with parameter of I collection types file DTO. Let us resolve this, and it will return the URLs DTO. Now as our DTOs and interface is ready, we can write our handler. So go to upload images and create three classes in this folder: upload images command, upload images command handler, and upload images command validator. Now our upload images command will look like this. Let us resolve it. So here we are specifying that upload image command will take multiple files and the handler will return URLs DTU. Upload images command handler should look like this. Let us resolve this by importing proper namespaces. So here we will be injecting our file storage service implementation, which we will implement in our infrastructure layer. And then we are simply calling upload async and passing this files collection to the method. It will do its job to upload it to Blob Storage and then will return us the URLs, and these URLs then we will return back to the controller. This much is enough, but while working with file upload, always remember that you should always validate file types so that user should not able to upload harmful files to your application. Now in this use case, we just want to allow JPG and PNG content type. So we will be writing validator for that. So our validator will look something like this. Let us resolve this by importing proper namespaces. And let us try to understand what we are doing here. So here you will also learn how to write your own custom validators. As in one of the previous chapter, we have seen that how to configure Fluent validation and how to use its basic built-in methods. But here you will also get to learn that how we can use our own custom validation method. So here we simply want to check that the files that we are uploading should not be empty. So we created file not empty validator, which takes in the list of files, and then if that collection is null or the count is 0, it returns false, means validation is failed. Or if it has some files, then it iterate over that files collection and checks that length is not 0. If it is 0, then again it returns false, and if everything is okay, then it returns true. So we are using must method of Fluent validator, which will pass if it will get true here. Otherwise it will fail and will report this message, file cannot be empty. In second validation, we are again validating files collection, but this time we want to check that if file is of allowed content type or not. We don't want to allow doc file, Excel file or any other type of file here. We only want to allow PNG and JPG. So we are writing this is validate content type validator, to which we are passing collection of files, and again it will return us true or false. Inside that we have valid content types array, what types of files we are allowing, and then we are iterating through each and every file and making sure that its file content type is in this array. With this, I guess our application layer is done. Now we need to implement this Azure Storage Service interface, which will actually upload that image to the Blob Storage. Now as a Blob Storage is third-party service, and we will be needing various third-party services in our solution in future also. So to implement all these third-party services, we will be adding one new project which will be responsible to connect all third-party APIs or services. So let us go to infrastructure layer, add new class library project and name it third-party services. Select class library, name it third-party services. Do not forget to set location to the infrastructure folder. Select this infrastructure folder. Next, on this screen select version .NET 5.0. For some reason it is not showing here, but I will change it once project is created. So once project is created, I will change target framework to .NET 5.0. Let us delete this class. Now to work with blob storages, we need to install package. Go to manage NuGet packages, browse and search for Azure storage.blobs. Select and install this package. Always make sure that you are installing this package in your third-party service project and not in your domain project. If you are using package manager console for installation purpose, make sure that default project is selected as third party service project. Now to implement all Azure services, let us create separate folder and name it Azure Services. And inside that, let us add a class, and this class will actually implement iFile storage service. So in order to implement interfaces of application layer, we need to add project reference of our application layer. Now we can implement that interface here. So this class will look something like this. Let us import namespaces to fix it. Now this blob service client is class provided by Azure Storage Blob, the package that we just installed. So here we are declaring reference of blob service client. The actual object for this client we will inject from our dependency injection file. Also resolve these namespaces. So upload async is accepting the list of files. So here we are actually creating reference to the container public uploads, as we want to upload our images to this particular container. Right now we are hard coding, but in future we may move it to some parameter, as this same method we would like to use for different containers. For example, profile images container. Next, we want to upload this file one by one. So we are writing one loop, and then we are creating reference to the blob client. So this is actual reference to that file which we are going to create, and obviously it will need the complete path with the file name. So instead of hard coding that stuff over here, we can write one helper method inside our file DTO itself. So let us go to file DTO and write one helper method which will give us the desired path and file name. So here we are doing few things. First of all, we don't want to use client side file name, as it can be too long or it can be duplicated, something like that. So we want to randomize our file name, but to make it searchable, we want to concatenate this random file name with the client side file name. But as client side file name can be too long, we want to use first 10 character of that client side file name only. So to truncate that, we have one helper method. If the file name is less than 10 character, then no problem. But if it is greater than 10 character, then it will select first 10 character. Then we are getting the extension of that file, and then we are specifying the base path. We want to store this image in user1 folder, and inside that we want to create stories folder, and using all these parts we are creating the complete path and we are returning it from here. The only thing is left, truncate long string. This is our extension method. So let us write this method. Extension methods or helpers will be part of our framework or our seed work. So let us go to our seed work folder and create extensions folder. Inside that, create string extensions class, and this class will look like this. The static class, obviously, as we want to write extension method for string, and we are passing max character. If it is length is minimum, then it is selecting that, and if max length is minimum, then it is selecting that, and using substring method to select first 10 characters, or if it is less than 10 character, then the length of that particular string. Now if we will go to file DTO, resolve this by importing namespace, and this is done. If it is little confusing to you, you can examine this code afterward. Now, if we will go back to Blob Storage service, then this is resolved. Resolve this by importing Azure storage.blobs.models namespace. So this upload async method is a method of blob client provided by the package that we installed, and to it we are passing the content as well as the content type. Blob client already has that path where it need to upload that particular file. Once upload is success, the URI to that file will be stored in this property of blob client, and which we are adding to the URLs collection. Once this loop is finished, then we will be returning these URLs by assigning it to URLs DTU. Now we need one class, blob storage setting class, which will have connection string property, in which we will read value from our app settings.json file. So let us create one folder, settings. Inside that, create class blob storage settings. It will look like this. The setting name that we want to read from our config file is blob storage setting, and we have single property right now in this setting, that is connection string. Now to read these settings and to inject various dependencies of this project, we will need dependency injection class, which will have service collection extension method. Add new class, dependency injection, and it will look like this. Let us resolve by importing proper namespaces. This is our setting class in which we want to read data from our configuration file. We have done one mistake here while creating this project. It should be orion.thirdpartyservices so that it should match with our convention. So for now I am keeping it as it is, as already this is recorded, but before pushing the changes to Git repo, I will make that change. So please note it down. Now to resolve this bind method, we need one package. So let us install the package microsoft.extension.configurations.binder and make sure that your third-party services project is selected. With this, it will get resolved. Also resolve this by importing proper namespace. Now let us try to understand the code. Here we are simply reading configuration file and putting it in our setting class, that is blob storage settings. This is very important line. Here we are creating object of blob service client. This class is provided by Azure storage.blobs package, and we are passing our connection string to its constructor so that it will point to our storage account, and we are adding this object as a singleton so that the same object will be reused for entire life cycle of this application. In third line, we are simply injecting our blob storage service for iFile storage service interface. Now we need to call this method from startup.cs configure service method. But before that, obviously we need to add a reference to that project. So go to dependencies of orion.apa project and add project reference. Add reference to third-party services project, and here make call to add third-party services. Import the namespace to fix it. With this, our infrastructure layer is ready. Now we need to add files controller to our APA project. So let us add new class, name it files controller, and it will look like this. Let us resolve this. Then here we are creating object of our upload image command, and it need file DTU. So we are decoupling our controller with our application layer. We don't want to pass this ASP.NET specific format to our application layer. So we have this file DTO which has this stream object, and we are copying this file into stream and some other data that we need. If in future we will need some more data, we can increase parameter in this file DTO. But for now this is sufficient, and then we are adding this file to the collection which is inside this object. Once this command object is ready, we can send it to the mediator and appropriate command handler will get called. I think one extra namespace is imported here. Remove that so that it will get fixed. You can always remove this unnecessary namespaces. With this, our controller is ready. You can put the breakpoint. I think we can test it. Let us run the application and try uploading few images. You can see that the new route is available here. I will be using Postman to make this request. Post request. This should be API slash files slash images. Go to the body, select from data, form files. So same parameter name we need to use as a key. Select file type. Then you can select the image from your local system. So this is JPG image. I want to upload multiple images. Select 2 images. Second one is this, and then click on send button. We should receive these 2 images here. Yes, and then you can debug it step by step. I am just continuing, and these images are created successfully on our blob storage, and it's returning us the URL. We can go to portal and we can go to our storage account. You can see that user1 folder is created inside the container. Inside that storage folder is there, and these 2 images got uploaded. You can download them and check from here also. So image upload is successful, but still we are not finished, as this is the first step that we have done. The first step is to upload the images so that it will return back us the URL, and a second step is to actual post that URLs with our story object. So when we will create story, we want to pass that URLs to that object. So for that we need to make few changes. The first change will be in our entity. One extra property we will need to store that image paths, that will be array of strings, and then we will need few changes in our handlers also, because we need to deal with this extra property. So let us first go to our domain layer, to our story entity. Let us add new property which is array of strings. Now go to our application layer, story DTO. Here also we need to add this new property. Then go to create story command. As we will be passing URLs while creating the story, we will need this string array property in our command. Then go to handler. Here we are assigning our request data to our entity. We need to consider this new property. So this entity object we are passing to repository to save it. Once story is saved, the newly created story will come to this object, and then again we want to return back in the DTO. We need to make this change here so that it will return array of URLs with that story data. So I think this much is enough for this command handler. Then we need to do some change in delete command handler. Here we need this images property, deleted story dot images. Next we need to make change in get handler. Here need to get new property, make this change. Same thing we will need in get by ID. Images is equal to entity. So this is a left right code that we are temporarily writing, but in future we'll see how to use some mapper so that we need not to do this manually. Then same change we need in our update handler. From this updated story entity, we need that images property in our DTO. So with this, I guess changes required to store and retrieve images array are done. Now we can run and test. Now if we will examine in Swagger, you will find that new images array is here while creating the story. Let us go to Postman. Now we just uploaded these images. Let us copy this array and go to create story request and use this array here, assign it to images property and send that request, and story with images is created successfully. Let us check in CosmosDB. Now I am in portal. If we'll go to this database items, this story has been created with images property, which points to the images that we uploaded to our blob storage. I guess with this we are done. Let us stop here. I'll make few changes to code and will push it to GitHub. You can find the link in description as always. So again, one regular appeal. If you find this content useful, please like and subscribe. If you wish to receive a notification whenever a new episode is published, then do not forget to hit bell icon and click all option in the frequency drop down. Thank you. See you in next session.